So hi guys, welcome to my channel once more. This is EduMate e-learning and you are watching the EduMate e-learning YouTube channel by Mrityunjay Khare, and today's topic will be the flying wonder or Orville Wright and Wilber Wright, which we can say is a poem from the famous poet Stephen Vincent Benet. So first we will be learning more about Stephen Vincent Benet and knowing how was his lifestyle till his death. Stephen Vincent Benet, 1898 to 1943, was an American poet, short story writer, and a novelist. He was born in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania. His father had a keen interest in literature. His brother William and his sister Laura also became writers, which are now as the famous poets William Vincent Benet and Laura Vincent Benet. He continued his studies at the Sorbonne in France, where he met and married the writer Rosemary Carr, who collaborated with him on many of his writing projects. He is best known for his book-length narrative poem of American Civil War, John Brown's Body, 1928, for which he received the Pulitzer Prize for the poetry, and for the short stories The Devil and Daniel Webster, 1936, and By the Waters of Babylon, 1937. In 2009, the Library of America selected his story The King of the Cats, that is written in 1929, for an inclusion in its 2-century retrospective of American fantastic tales edited by Peter Straub. So now we will be just revising the poem, and I will be explaining the poem or the poet's direction to the poem. So first the lines. Said Orville Wright to Wilber Wright, "These birds are very trying. I am sick of hearing them cheep about the fun of flying. A bird has feathers, it is true. That much I freely grant. But must that stop us, W?" said Wilber Wright. "It shan't." So now the explanation of this para. So Orville Wright is the younger brother of Wilber Wright, which you can see these photos of the Wright brothers, and I have named them below their photos. So Orville Wright was just so the story begins here that that Orville Wright and Wilber Wright was standing or sitting an unknown place, and Orville Wright said to Wilber Wright, by seeing the birds flying, that that we must check out that how these birds are, how the birds felt, and what was the and how was the air while flying. So let's go to the second para. So they built a glider first, and then they built another. There were never two brothers more devoted to each other. They ran a dusty little shop for bicycle repairing, and brought each other soda pop, and praised each other's daring. So now the explanation. So they first built a glider, but when they flew it, it crashed. So they soon built another. And when they built that another glider, when they were just continuing the conclusion of the glider, they devoted each other so proudly. They encouraged each other, that each other's praise, each other's work, that wow, you have done well. We will make this flying machine very soon, and we will fly this. So they were devoted to each other. They were just proud of each other, and they just encouraged each other to use the colas, or that cokes we get in India. That much only we can say, soda pop, and praised each other. Now through the third para, they glided here, they glided there, for they sometimes skinned their noses. For learning how to rule the air was not a bed of roses, but each would murmur afterward while patching up to his brow. Are we discouraged with W? Of course we are not. O. So, explanation of the para. So they glided here, they glided there, they sometimes skinned their noses. They glided here, they glided there means that they were practicing to just fly this machine as they had built it, but have never learned how to fly it. So they were just flying it for the practice that they can then finally confess that to the people that we have made a flying machine and we are ready to fly it. They sometimes skinned their noses while repairing the glider or while modifying the glider. Skinned their noses means suffered minor scraps or injuries. For fly in the air. Fly in the air. This is an idiom of fly in the air that is pronounced here as for learning how to rule the air. So rule the air means that how to fly. Difficult task. Bed of roses means difficult task. But each would murmur afterward while patching up to his brow. But each would encourage his brother and just praise their building and their architecture of the plane, and they always asked each other that are we discouraged, and the second one said that no, we are not, we will make this. That is written as are we discouraged W? Of course we are not O. And finally at Kitty Hawk, this is the fourth para, and finally at Kitty Hawk in 1903, let's cheer it, the first real aeroplane really flew, with Orville there to steer it. And kingdoms may forget their kings, and dogs may forget their bites, but not till man forgets his wings will men forget the rights. So now the explanation. Now what is the explanation of this para is that finally at Kitty Hawk, when they had learned how to fly the glider, how to modify the glider, they had modified it, they had customized it, and they had just prepared it to fly. They went to Kitty Hawk with people there were watching them that how they have made a flying machine and how they will fly it. And in 1903, it is the event of 1903. Let's share it. Now let's share it. It is a poetic device which I will be telling you later in this video only. Let's share it is written as this, like this is an event. This is an event of joy that this first real aeroplane really flew. So let's cheer it. Well, let's see. I mean, Orville was the younger brother, not the bigger. Sorry. So Orville there to steer it, and he was younger, so that's why he had. Or there's no reason why only Orville is there to steer it, but Orville was there to steer it. And kingdoms may forget their kings, and dogs may forget their bites, but not till man forgets his wings will man forget the rights. Now in this line you will be amazed to know that kingdoms may forget their kings, and dogs will forget their bites, but man doesn't. But the men and women will not forget the rights. That's strange. But this is also an idiom. This is not a particular idiom. They have used it. That the poet have used it. Now rhyme scheme. Rhyme scheme of this poem, as you can say, the rhyming words of the last of the lines in any paras. This is like AC, AD, BEB, or you can say AXA. XABXB. Now, how to know the rhyme scheme of any poem? This I have to tell you, very important. That is written in this chapter only from the Oxford 7th class book English access. That is the poem that I have made it. Now, this communication corner, or you can say rhyme scheme, is very easy to know of any poem. Just you have to realize it. That is that only the poem, the rhyme scheme of this poem, or anything else. Now, many traditional poems have lines that end with rhyming words. Isn't that right? When rhyming words appear at the end of the lines of poetry, they are called end rhymes. The end words of the lines of the paragraph of the poem are called end lines. So now an example from a poem that's rhyme scheme is, you can say a, or you can say it's the same rhyme scheme. You can say, now the first example is that the poem What Can I Say by Max Tell. What can I say? It's a very fine day to say what I say, and this is the best way. Dogs may bray, but that's okay, while a poem today I write in play. Now you can say, now you can just click A, this phonic sound, A, is coming at the last of these words in the sentences of the poem. So its rhyme scheme, you can say A. It's you can say it's a rhyme scheme of nothing. You can say it, but you can just realize it by A or B. Now the second example is from the poem itself. So let's say, now let me take the pen item. Wait a minute. Yes. Now, wait a minute. Now, you can see clearly here that they glided there, they glided there. Now, I will tell that, wait a minute. I just did it wrong. All wrong. They sometimes skinned their noses for learning how to rule the air. Was not a bed of roses. Now you can clearly see here, I have highlighted there and air with blue, and noses and roses with green. Now, this poem has a, you can say, wait a minute, is all. So this poem has, you can say, a rhyme scheme of A, or you can say this ACA, DBEB, or AX, BXB. You can say it, but in some paras it is AB, and some paras are the following rhyme scheme, which you can see on my screen clearly. Now there are some more examples which I have to tell you, that are now the poem White Fields by James Stephens, anything else. In the winter time we go, walking in the fields of snow, where there is no grass at all, where the top of every wall, every fence and every tree is as white as white. A. So go snow. These are A because they are rhyming. Now what is BB? All wall. This is BB. Now what is CC? Tree B. This is CC. The end of the line is given a letter starting with A, then B, then so on. If an end sound repeats the end sound of an earlier line, it gets the same letter as the earlier line. As you know, like in the winter's time we go walking in the fields of snow. Now go, snow, they are rhyming, so they will, if we name the first line in the winter time we go as one, and if any line is rhyming, any line is rhyming with that line, it will be also named as A. That's what I have to tell you, that you can understand. Resume this video. I mean, restart this video from 10 seconds or 30 seconds earlier, you can say. So I will just conclusion of my lines. And in example 3, the rhyme scheme would be AABBCC. That's what I told you. Sometimes the lines do not end in rhyming words. You can say that the last video I made on the abandoned farmhouse, that the poem by Ted Kooser, they had no rhyme scheme. That's why I did not present any rhyme scheme to that poem. But I forgot to tell you that the rhyme scheme rhyme the words. They make their poem in free verses, like Sacrifice by Alison Chambers Coxey. Wait and watch. As you can see, AX I have written here. So this X here, I'm so sorry, it is all. So this X and this X and this X, they mean that the rhyming, these are not rhyming words. Or you can say the upper one, C is not similar to D, and so do E is not similar to any A or B or C or D. You can clearly see in here. So so now I will describe the poem like this AX. I have given the rhyme scheme of the poem. The sacrifice of love we give takes less and yet gives more. An everlasting hand of love, the heart an open door. You can say that takes less and yet give more. The second line and the fourth line, the heart an open door. The heart and open door. Now these will be marked as A because they are first sentences that are rhyming in the poem, that we see rhyming in the poem first time. And you can clearly see the first and the third line are not rhyming. The sacrifice of love we give. So now the examples of free verse. Sacrifice was not an example of free verse. The example of free verse is On Killing a Tree, that is written by Giv Patel. Now it takes much time to kill a tree, not a simple jab of the knife will do it. It has grown, slowly consuming the earth, rising out of it, feeding. Now there is no such rhyme scheme in this. It is a free verse and there is no rhyming word in the lines. Now the second example of this free verse, the poem Mending Wall. Now let's get some poetic devices that we can get and understand that what are the poetic devices of this poem. As you know, in my last video, if you have subscribed to my channel, you know that in my last video of abandoned farmhouse, I also talked about the poetic devices. In that there were 6 poetic devices. There are 8. Don't worry, it will be small. It will be over in 5 minutes, or it can take 1 or 2 minutes more. So first is repetition. So repetition is like you can say that a word is repeated in one line, or they glided here, they glided there. So in this they glided, wait a minute, sorry, they glided is repeated here also in the same line. They glided, there glided. So this is the example of repetition. One more example I will give you, that is from the last sorry, wait a minute. It is all. Now, wait a minute. Yes. Now, you can clearly see here that may forget. I'm sorry, I have not written here may, but it is coming forget. No, sorry. Forget has come. So, you can say forget is here in the first line, in the line that and kingdoms may forget their kings, and forget is coming again here, and dogs may forget their rights, and again the forget is coming here, but not till man forgets his wing. And again the forget will come here, will men forget the rights. This is the example of repetition, and you can define it as a repetition is a poetic device in which a poem has repeated a word 2 or 3 times in the poem. So now, second is, as you can see on my screen, the second poetic device is metaphor. Metaphor means, like you can say the example, they sometimes skin their noses. The second line you can see here. They sometimes skin their noses. That means they sometimes met with obstacles and defeats. The metaphor means that an example of the example of an idiom. You give an example of an idiom to the poem. Like skinned their noses is an idiom, and you have given an example, so that is metaphor. And you can say that metaphor is a poetic device which is showing an example of an idiom to your poem. Now let's get back to the third rhyme scheme. That is, you can see on my screen, alliteration. Alliteration. Now alliteration is the repetition of a constant repetition of a constant in words. Like said Orville Wright. Wright is starting with W. To Wilber Wright. Wilber and Wright are again coming, and W starting with W. And the alliteration here is W. About the fun of flying. Fun, flying. F, starting with F. So alliteration is F. And then they built another. Then they. T, starting, they built a glider first, and then they built another, and is coming, and is starting the line again and again, and brought each other soda pop, and praised each other's daring, and is coming again and again at the starting of the line. So that is anaphora. You can say the repetition of a starting word of the line in another line, which can be repeated 3 or 4 times or more. They glided there, they glided there, they glided here, they glided there. They sometimes skinned their noses. So they is starting the line, they glided here, they glided there. Actually, they glided here and they glided there are in the same line. So this hyperbole. The last 4 lines conveys that the last 4 lines of the here, you can say the last 4 lines of the poem conveys that anything impossible might happen, but the world will not forget the Wrights and their wonder machine. That is hyperbole. That's what I was talking about. That this is also an idiom, but this is also. But I forgot to tell you that this was hyperbole, a poetic device, which means that you express yourself in such a manner that you can say like that the people of earth can forget their earth, but people cannot forget the rights. That's why you can say that you want to explain. Now the next poetic device, that is, you can see on my screen the 7th poetic device and the second last poetic device, parenthesis. Parenthesis is the easiest poetic device. in the grammatical course of literary devices and poetic devices. Parenthesis is the uh, is the bracketed word of the poem. Like the the word in the bracket was "let's cheer it" in the second line in 1903. In the bracket, let's cheer it. That's what parenthesis is called, to enable the reader to admire the first invention ever made in the field of airplanes. That's why it has been said, let's cheer it. Now, the last poetic device and the eighth poetic device you can see on my screen is transferred epithet. Transferred epithet, what is transferred epithet? Now, I will give you an example. But not till man forgets his wings is a transferred epithet, as the wings of the airplanes is transferred to man. That's why it is like the personification. As you know, in my previous video I talked about personification. Personification is a poetic device that in which a non-living thing is compared to a living thing. That is the same like the transferred epithet, but it's little different. The ornaments of our wings, no, that means that the wings of the airplane are transferred to the man by saying this idiom, forgets his wing. And that's the end of this chapter. Hope you liked the video. If so, please like this video, share this video with your family and neighbors, and subscribe to the channel, the EduMate, which is written on my first screen. EduMate e-learning by Mrityunjay Khare. I will see you in the next poem or the next chapter of any subject. Till then, thank you and bye bye.